The vlog that I'm about to share with you isn't really paranormal in nature. It is more creepier when it happened to me. But the thing is that it stayed with me all these years. I think this was when I was in grade 6. And I had to accompany my sister to the hospital for her co-op placement. I didn't really want to go, but my parents said, nope, you're going. You know, you gotta go with your sister. I didn't really want to go because, to be frank, hospitals kind of weirded me out. I did not like hospitals. Back then, you know, when I was a kid, I'm just like, no. So many people are sick, you know, I just don't want to be in that environment. I'm here in the waiting section, in the waiting area, waiting for my sister for her interview to be over and done with. And when all of a sudden a gentleman in a wheelchair came up to me. He was, you know, approaching me, and I was like thinking, okay. And the thing is that this is the part that kind of weirded me out. He had no legs. That got me really creeped out. You know, when you're a kid, you kind of get creeped out at that sort of stuff. He comes up to me and he asks me, what's your name? I didn't want to be rude, so I told him my name. So he's like, hey, how's it going? How are you? And then he asked me another question. He asks me, oh, where are you from? I was hesitant, but I didn't want to be rude. So I told him, oh, well, my parents, they're from Ecuador. You know, I was born here. Oh, and they're like, oh, Ecuador. Oh, really? So he goes to his room, and then he comes back with a letter, and then he starts pointing at the letter. He's like, is that where you're from? And I was like, no. He goes back to his room, and he comes back with some cookies, and he hands them over to me. And, you know, as a kid, you're taught never to take anything from strangers. So I took them. I didn't eat them. I went to the bathroom, and I tossed them into the garbage. So I was waiting for my sister's interview to end, because honestly, I wanted to get out of there. But I have to say, though, that the conversation that I had with this gentleman, it was okay, you know. At first I felt kind of weird, but here's the thing. He also asked me a question which I thought was kind of, how do I say it, unimportant. He asked me, oh, so whereabouts do you live? Obviously I wasn't going to tell him. So the thing is, I just said, you know, I live, you know, somewhere near the Science Center. That's all I said, remember. He thanked me for lending an ear, you know, for paying attention to him. So I was like, oh, okay. So I see my sister, you know, she's coming with the nurse, and we were getting set to leave. And then the nurse, the head nurse, said something which caught me off guard. She's like, oh yeah, you know, that gentleman that you were speaking with, he only has 2 weeks to live. Apparently was dying of cancer. Like I said, when you're a kid, when you're, you know, I was in grade 6 at the time, that sort of stuff, you just kind of get scared when you hear that sort of stuff. So me and my sister, we left from the hospital. It's at least 5 hours later. I'm watching TV, you know, it's around 10 o'clock. All of a sudden I hear a knock at the door. You know, knock, knock, knock. And I'm thinking, who would it be at this time? It's like 10 o'clock. I go to the door and I'm like, who is it? This is what I heard. It's me, Tom. My jaw hit the ground. It was the guy from the hospital. And I froze. There were many things that were going through my mind at the time. Number one, how in the hell did you find out where I lived? I never said anything. I never stated where I lived. That kind of freaked me out. I was like, wow. And number two, maybe he passed away that day and he was saying bye because, you know, I paid attention to him, you know, I talked to him. The feeling that I got from him was he was lonely. He was a lonely person. So he was thankful that, you know, when he was talking to me, I paid attention to him. I froze. I got goosebumps all over. I didn't open the door. I wasn't going to open the door because, you know, I was taught never, you know, you don't open the door for strangers. I immediately ran up the stairs. I tucked myself in. Like this. I put the sheets like this. And needless to say, that creeped me out. That freaked me out. And here's the thing. I didn't tell my sister until a year later. when I told her, we were having a conversation and I said to her, I go, you remember that guy that was in the wheelchair and he was talking to me and just before we left, you know, your co-op placement at the hospital? She's like, yeah. He apparently was knocking on our door at around 10 o'clock. And my sister, she's like, don't tell me that. She's like, I'm like, yeah, he did. And I was like, ooh. To this day, it puzzles me, like, how he found out where I was located or where I lived. So here's the question. Is this experience paranormal? Or did he actually come to my place? But why would he? Do you get what I'm saying? It's like 10 o'clock at night. It's 10 o'clock at night and he's in a wheelchair. He has no legs. He was dying of cancer. I don't know. I'm thinking he passed away that day. So that is my experience. I don't know if paranormal or just creepy.